Hello and welcome to the TalkVilla podcast. I'm your host, Samit Paul, and in episode 2 of the pod, we are unfortunately looking back at our 1-0 defeat at Brentford on Saturday. Now look, it's been a far from ideal start to the season. There were mitigating circumstances in our opener against Newcastle, given we were down to 10 men in the second half, and ultimately we did hold out for a hard-fought draw. But for me personally, there were no real excuses for the performance we saw this past weekend. I thought that Villa were devoid of energy, intensity, urgency, pace, creativity, width, and the list could honestly go on with our lack of sharpness and cutting edge included in that as well. Those are pretty important aspects of a performance if you want to play winning football, and our struggles in the final third through the 2 games have undoubtedly been noticeable. As always in these post-match reaction podcasts, I've picked out 5 key talking points that I feel are worthy of more in-depth discussion. Please do share your thoughts in the comments, and if you like what you've heard from the TalkVilla podcast so far, please drop us a like or a positive review and subscribe, whether you're listening on Apple Podcasts, YouTube or Spotify. It really will make a big difference in helping me grow the channel, and so I really appreciate you listening, firstly, and also supporting the channel. Unai Emery spoke to Villa TV after the game to discuss the Brentford loss, and he gave his thoughts. Naturally, he was very disappointed and frustrated with both the performance and result. Here's what he had to say.
Good evening. Yes, we are frustrated, and really we lost one match when the first 20 minutes we weren't starting with the rhythm we needed to control the game, and we conceded 1 goal, and always conceding 1 goal. Then we reacted. We were dominating. We were getting their balls. We were having corners, some chances we had as well to score 1 goal and to draw, and then try to again start our own match, thinking to win. But we didn't score, and we tried everything. But we need work and keep moving forward. With this result, being very, very disappointed for us. We are in the process building the team for different circumstances. We compete very well the first match against Newcastle. Today we compete, but after we conceded 1 goal and was not enough to score 1 goal to draw. And now the idea is try to move on, try to prepare the next game at home in Villa Park against Crystal Palace, and try to react and try to get our better performance individually and collectively to try to get stronger our idea we were creating the last 2 years.
So on we go then to the 5 key talking points, and let's kick things off and roll it back to the starting lineup with Unai Emery going with a partnership of Tyrone Mings and Pau Torres at the back. Now it's a centre-half pairing that has been spoken about a lot in the past, and we've had to wait to see it materialise. Emery has spoken about it in the past as having to work on it in training to perfect it before we see it deployed on the pitch. But I do feel as though the concerns that we had over it were on show this weekend. Now there's an obvious imbalance that comes with playing with 2 left-footed centre-halves, and I felt that made us look awkward and vulnerable at times, both in and out of possession. But they were both so poor in the build-up to the goal, and I felt they both should have done better to snuff out the threat. Now granted, it is a small sample size, it is only 1 game, and they perhaps need more time to gel and to get it right on the pitch. But at this occasion, I don't think it worked, so it's going to be a massive boost getting Ezri Konsa back from suspension next weekend to restore that balance in the heart of our back line. We may see it again in the future, we may not, but on this occasion, for me, it just didn't work, and it was one of the factors that contributed to us looking vulnerable and shaky at the back and ultimately losing the game. The second point I wanted to raise was regarding the fullback positions and how we don't have enough of an attacking threat in those positions. Now, both Matty Cash and Luca Dean, they give us defensive resilience and solidity, but for me, there isn't enough energy or attacking quality in the other phase of the game from either of them. Dean gets into better advanced areas. We see him getting up the pitch into crossing positions, but I feel it's very much a case of stand and deliver with him into a crowded box, which then has a limited success rate and there's limited options in the box for him to target. In contrast, an Ian Maatsen can get in behind with his pace and athleticism, get to the byline, or burst past the player on the overlap to start opening things up for us, either as a decoy to stretch the pitch, create space inside for others to exploit, or to become a direct threat himself. On the opposite side, Cash is clearly asked to play a more conservative role, as there's just no way that he is that apprehensive about pushing forward or playing a pass into feet to progress it up the pitch rather than turning back and playing the safe pass. But for me, there's just not enough width and there's not enough threat created in wide areas from Villa, and the two fullbacks have got a part to play in that, a big part to play in that. The third point is that no more Yuri Tielemans in the number 10 role. I didn't like seeing Tielemans in the advanced number 10 role against Newcastle, and I didn't see anything this weekend that changed my mind. He is our metronome in the deeper pivot. In that position, he is able to dictate, control tempo and possession for us, give us rhythm, and is a fundamental link in our build-up play. It's hoped that that's the last time we see him play as a number 10 or in a more advanced role, unless it's absolutely necessary due to injuries and suspensions. But I am adamant that we need his intelligence and quality in front of the defence to help dissect and carve through these stubborn defensive shapes and systems we're seeing from opposing sides. And the best way he can do that is by seeing the bulk of the pitch in front of him rather than being directly in the mixer where it's all congested and he has to battle for space and time. Point number 4, Morgan Rogers must improve. Now, I don't want to single him out for criticism because I don't feel as though there was anyone on the pitch this weekend that did enough for us to win the game. But for a player with such a critical role in this team, and he's had it since he arrived, and he's thrived under Emery, and Emery's got the best out of him, and hopefully he's going to continue to help him improve and develop his game. But as of now, he needs to improve because he's been off the pace these opening 2 games. Now, his injury at the end of pre-season perhaps explains it to an extent, as he missed our final 2 friendlies, and so possibly that's derailed his preparations and he's not entirely fit or comfortable as of yet. But he's been very wasteful and he's been very sloppy in possession so far. And that comes when he's either trying too much, when he's done the hard work, he's beaten his man. The easy thing to do then, and to get us keep moving up the pitch with pace, is to offload the ball and make a run forward. He holds onto the ball for far too long, gets himself in trouble and is ultimately dispossessed. And if you combine that with a lack of sharpness and a cutting edge from him when he's actually in threatening positions, that is really hurting us. And as a key figure in this side, as I said, from a creative and goal threat perspective, Emery and we need him to step up and get back to top form. The final point, and the key one, is that we need to see more positive intent and dynamism from this Villa attack. Personally, for me, everything about our first 2 performances so far has been predictable, slow and methodical. That can have its benefits. We've seen it work so effectively under Emery, where we have an understood and settled way of playing a system, and everyone knows their role within that system and setup. It's delivered brilliant results for nearly 2.5 years, and it will continue to do so. We have created some chances, but feel as though we've really looked like scoring or capable of building sustained pressure in front of goal. So combined with personnel changes to inject some energy, pace and width into this side, and now I'm looking at Ian Matson, Daniel Marlon, Evan Gasson to provide that for us, we have got to create a more attacking, dynamic strategy to get on the front foot rather than playing it too safe. Now, for me, it's been difficult to watch us try to break Newcastle and Brentford down over these past 2 weeks. And so Emery's got a big task on his hands in training this week to formulate a game plan which not only adds creativity to our performance, but he's got to find effective ways to both exploit and expose the weaknesses that Palace have, while also maintaining an important balance at the other end of the pitch. As if we go too gung-ho, we know from previous meetings that Palace are going to love that, exploit it, get us on the counter-attack, and we're going to be in all sorts of trouble. So yes, more dynamism, more intent, more positivity going forwards, but also being mindful of having that balance of not leaving ourselves too open and exposed at the other end of the pitch. Now look, it's a big week ahead for Villa. We've got just days left in the transfer window now to address our concerns and hopefully strengthen Emery's squad where possible. Of course, we're going to continue to be limited by financial regulations as we've got to manage our wage bill and spending to make sure that we remain compliant with the UEFA settlement agreement and PSR moving forward. And that puts even more pressure on the recruitment because they've got to get it spot on with reinforcements who are capable of raising our level and improving the group. And Villa, rather than panicking now and bringing in numbers for the sake of it because we've had a poor start to the season, we've got to stick to our guns. We've got to identify top talent who are going to fit the system, thrive under Emery and make a massive difference. And hopefully we're capable of bringing those players in this week. It's hoped that we can do some good business because we're going to need a lift for everyone at the club after what has been a difficult summer. It started with the PSR situation. It continued with the UEFA issues. We've seen key players leave, and that's going to have an impact on the players that are still in the squad, seeing their friends and teammates leave. But the fact remains is that we had enough quality available this past weekend to beat Brentford. They were reeling from their defeat in their season opener, and the jury is very much still out on Keith Andrews, and we ultimately fell short of getting the job done. Moving forward though, we need to see a positive reaction against Palace. Our recent record against them is woeful, and so there is a concern going into that game. But back at Villa Park, under the lights, we need a spark, we need some inspiration from somewhere to get our season going, and hopefully we'll get back on track on Sunday. So that's it for this pod. Thanks for listening. I do really appreciate it. Please subscribe, like and leave a review if you've enjoyed it. I hope I can grow the channel over the course of this season. I'll increase the amount of content I put out, and hopefully we can build a great community of villains here together. Check out talk-villa.com for news throughout the week, especially leading up to the transfer deadline. You can sign up to the TalkVilla Plus newsletter through Substack. All the details will be included in the description of this podcast, including all social media accounts where you can follow TalkVilla. Now, it wasn't the result we wanted. I'm hoping there'll be a more upbeat episode of the pod to come next week after we've defeated Palace and got our season up and running finally. But until then, thanks for listening, and up the Villa.